Hello and welcome. Wow, the chat is busy. Hello to each and every one of you. If I said hello to each and every one of you individually, we would be here all day. People on replay would go crazy. But trust me, I am appreciative of each and every one of you. So hello. Right, hopefully you can see my desktop. Very soon, even better, you'll be seeing what we're actually going to start with, which is the slides. So let me sort that out. One button. Yay! Right, hopefully you are now looking at what I'm looking at. So, am I okay, Mike? Excellent. Hello and welcome to Mastering Master Pages in Affinity Publisher. You will be very pleased to know, in terms of the content, there's only one slide. Just one slide. I've got to do one. So, let's get going with it. I am Elaine Giles, if you are unaware, and I have been using DTP applications since, a Sinclair Spectrum. Yeah, that old. But we'll move swiftly along from that. Right, we're broadcasting in 1080p. But we always have a laugh on these live sessions. What has YouTube switched you to? To me, yesterday, it was 360. So make sure you're watching in the best quality that we broadcast in. And while you're down there, cog, right-hand side, where you can change those settings, give us a like. It really makes a difference on YouTube. So I will give you a couple of seconds to get yourself all set up if you are with us live. Renee says he's in 480. See what I mean? It's just not good enough, YouTube. So make sure you are all there. Yes, and we have changed our clocks as well, so I hope we're not missing anybody. We've lost an hour's sleep last night, and we were doing a show till 1 o'clock in the morning, so it was actually about 2:30 when we finally got some sleep. Right, master pages. This is the one and only slide. A master page is a non-printing page that can be used as a template for one or more pages in your document. Now, when I say non-printing, obviously the content of the master page gets output, but master pages are not counted as separate pages in your output file. So if you had 10 content pages in a file and 4 master pages, when you output the file, you will only output the 10 content pages. Any of the content that you put on the master will be included, but they'll be included in the pages to which the master page is applied. And the content page, well, that's really simple. That is where your content lives. That's the essence of the entire session, but obviously there are nuances, aren't there? And there are gotchas and there are tips and tricks. So let's get on and have a look at that. Right, and let's get Affinity Publisher up. Got to do that for a start, haven't we? Come on, it's having a think about it. Excellent, there we go. Right, I'm going to start from scratch completely because the first encounter that you may have with a master page is when you say File, New. Go on, you can do it. Excellent. Right, let's get that in the right place. Oh, we can even see all the options today. When you go to the File New dialog box, you've got your templates, you've got presets, and then within the presets, you've got your own presets, and you've got print, press ready, and all of the others. So I'm working with print today, and I'll probably be working mainly with A4. On the right-hand side of this dialog box, you've got lots of options in lots of different groups. And the thing that is important in here, and is by default ticked, which means you may already have some masters, just not be aware of it, is in the layout section. So all of these sections are here. I usually have them all open apart from the bleed, but it's the layout section. You've got important things like the size and the image placement policy. You've also got the number of pages, but it's this one here, which is default master. So that, as I say, is ticked by default, which means you could have masters kicking around and to be unaware of them. You can take the tick out of that if you don't want a master at all. Most of the time I just leave it ticked and then whatever. So what I'm going to do here is have it as just one page with a default master and click create. Right. You then need to look at your pages panel. Now, by default again, if you've not changed the interface of Affinity Publisher, you'll find that on the left-hand side. If you're thinking it's not there, then you need to go into the view options, and in Studio you will find Pages in there. So that's how you get it back if you haven't, if it's not on the left hand side and if you're not actually sure where it is. First thing to think about is there a tick in the box? So is there a tick next to it? If there is, then it's open somewhere on your screen. If there isn't, then just click the option and it will appear somewhere on your screen. And don't forget with this new version that you can have different views and save them as studio presets if you're working with in different ways with your document. So I have a default view and I have a data merge view. And my data merge view has extra panels showing, so I can control the data merge. So you could have a working with masters view if you want to. Right, but that is the default. That is what we see. In this Pages panel, it's split into two. There is at the top Master Pages and underneath Pages. And each one of them can be toggled off or toggled on. Once you've set it up, if you've got lots of masters in a file, then maybe no need to see them, in which case just toggle it closed and then only open it when you want to work with the master. But that is the master that we have at the top. So we have our content page here, and just so we know which is which, I'm going to put a square on the content page. Oh, what a boring colour. Let's go find something a little bit more exciting. Let's have an orange one. Right, so this is on the content page. Right, what we need to do next is move to the master page. Now, selecting it like that, you've selected it, but you're not actually editing at that point because what's selected in here isn't shown in your canvas. So it's actually, I can't tell you the number of times I've done it myself, that I click it and I think, right, no, that's not right. You need to double click it. And that loads it in to the canvas area. Same with the pages. Clicking once only selects it. It's a double click to actually move in to edit it. So this is Master A that we have at the top. So you haven't had to manually create that. It's already there. But if you think, well, that's all very well, or you didn't have one to start with, or you'd like another one, how do you make another master page? And you do that with the tiny little button that says Add Master. That is very similar to the Add Page option here. But up here you are making a master page. So click the Add Master. And this is what you've got in here. So first off, a name. And it will default to the next letter. So Master A, Master B, Master C, and so forth. You don't have to leave it set to that. In fact, it's good practice to give it a name so you know what it is. So let's say we're going for something incredibly simple here, which is like, I'm going to put a sidebar on it. So I actually call the master sidebar. It will make your life easier later. The next option to choose is whether it is a single page or whether it's facing pages. Now, it doesn't matter, to be honest. If you know you're only ever going to use this as a cover and it's got things like the masthead on it, maybe the price, stuff like that for a magazine, then you could make it single because you're never going to want that on a left-hand page. But it doesn't matter if you make it facing either. So we'll see that as we start adding it. But if you add it as facing, so you've got a left-hand page and a right-hand page, and we then try and apply it to page 1, it will work. It will just only show you what is on the right-hand side. So most of the time I leave it to be facing so I don't have to go in and change it later if I then decide, do you know, actually I want this on an inside and I want it on the left hand as well. Then there's your dimensions, which most of the time, unless there's some pressing reason not to, will be the same size as the document. So I'm going to leave all that alone. And you can set the margins in here. So if you wanted different margins on different pages, this is a good way to do it. The sidebar is probably going to be, in my file, the master that I'm using the most. And my stuff is for digital output, so I'm going to set it with quite small margins. And then when I click OK, you can see the margins here twang out to the outside, so I've got much more space to play with. And I've created a second master and named it. Now, this one that's Master A, well, there's nothing actually on there. If I want to change that so that the margins match my preferred margins, which are in the sidebar, then I'm going to go into the preferences. No, I'm not. I'm not going into preferences. I'm not. I'm going into the setup of it. So let's get in there and get to the spread setup. And in here, I can... In fact, that's not right either, is it? Just a minute. Where are we? Right. Spread properties. There we go. That's where I should be. Master A. So it's got the name from over here. That is where you rename it. So not the document ones at the top, the ones that are actually on the page themselves. So the document ones at the top here are affecting the entire document. But when you right click and you say spread properties, you are only impacting the master that you have right clicked on. So this one is going to be blank. So I'm going to rename it blank. So if I want something in my document where the only content that should be on the page is actually on the content page, then I can apply a blank master to it, or I could take the master away completely. But if I make a blank master, the benefit is when I go into my margins in here, I can just have it showing the margins. There's no other content on it, but it's going to match the margins that I've got elsewhere. But there's just no content on it. So we have created one when we made the file. That's the first one. We've renamed it. We've made a second one. You can in here then play around with them if you want. So I'm going to move this pages option down to the bottom so we can look at the master pages. It does make sense to me to have the blank one at the top, but there is actually nothing to stop you moving these around if you want to. So I would have the blank one at the top. And then I've got my sidebar. Now, what does that actually mean in terms of if somebody is with us today or watching on catch up who has never experienced a master page? Let's see how that actually works. So these are my content pages, and I've only got one, and I've put a box on it so we know that that is, when we click on it, that there is the content page. It has the content on it. But to make this more sensible, I'm going to add some extra pages. So I'm going to add 11 pages, which will give me a 12-page document. So I'm adding pages. This is not adding master pages. It's adding individual pages. And I'm going to put them after page 1. And here's another mention of the master pages. Which one do you want applying? And now I've got more than one. It's defaulting to blank, but I probably want this to be the sidebar. So choose the sidebar from there and OK. And that is one way to apply a master page to a content page. But at the minute, doesn't look spectacular, does it? They all look blank. And that's because in the sidebar, we haven't actually got a sidebar. So let's create a sidebar. It is very straightforward. I'm just going to use a shape and just put in a sidebar there. That's possibly a bit big. No, we'll leave it at 1 so we can see it. So I've applied that in this sidebar, and we can see that there. Automatically, it has applied it to each and every page that had that set as its master. It's that simple. But what hasn't happened is we haven't got a sidebar over on the right-hand pages. Now, if we'd have made a master page that only had one page, so it didn't have a full spread layout, and we'd have applied it to all of them, then we would have got that. But when it's a double spread like this, if you want a sidebar on the other side, be that here, so it actually matches, which isn't what we want, or over there, then you have to do that one on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side, and then as you go through the pages, and now we're looking at pages, I am double-clicking, we have that on all of them. The benefit of using the master page is probably obvious to a lot of you, but just in case it's not, if I want to make any changes to this, so you know you get the client that's like, yeah, that orange, I don't like it, want it purple, right? Then we can apply purple to the master and it ripples through to all of the content pages. And that is why we're doing it. That's one reason. That is one reason. You'll notice, however, this one, it's missing. Right, that is because we've not got the right page applied. But if we grab the sidebar and drop it on there, then we automatically get the purple sidebar over here. Right, I think that did probably look better in orange. It's a little bit brighter, we can see it easier, and we're going to be using that down the line. So we've done the creating, naming, renaming, reordering, and adding content. We are motoring today, aren't we? We are motoring. Right, I'm going to look now at the layout here in terms of static content. What we have added is static content. Whatever is on the master page is going to ripple through to the content page, and that's it. The power, the true power of master pages comes when you add dynamic content, content that updates depending on the content page. Which sounds strange because we've said the content on the master page doesn't really interact in a dynamic way, but it does if you're going to use fields. So fields are your friend here, automatically updating content. So one thing we might want on our sidebar page, or another page entirely, would be page numbers. So just to reiterate what we've done, I'm going to create another master. And this one I'm going to call page numbers. If I could spell, I would be dangerous. Right, we've got the correct margins. It's kept all of that. I do want facing pages, and I'm just going to click OK. Now we have 3 master pages. We've got the blank spread, the sidebar spread, and the page numbers spread. And it's the page numbers spread that we're going to be working on right now. Right, I want to put some page numbers on it, and I want them to be, it's completely up to you. You can put them where you want and you can move them. But I'm going to get a placeholder for them. So get some text down here, a nice text box. That's not a text box. Hang on, that's a text box. Right, let's get a text box and put it down there in the corner. That's probably about right. Down there. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm actually doing. Now, if what you want in here is just a number, so you don't want it to say anything like page and then the number, then all you need to do is go to text, insert, fields, and then choose the field. And the first one, they are anticipating you, is page number. And you click there. Now, that puts a hash in there. That's because right back that one slide I showed you, and I said the master pages are not part of the output. So really what you're looking at there is a placeholder for the page number. That's it. But if this master page were applied to a content page, like this one here, then you would see the number. So I am going to apply the page number master to this page 2 and 3 simply by dragging it and dropping it. And it takes away the sidebar, so as I apply one master, it replaces another. That's the default. But in more advanced topics we're going to come on to, that doesn't always have to happen. But for the moment we want it to happen. And we want it to happen so we can go down here and see that this is indeed page 2. And we now have a page number on the page. But we don't have one on the right-hand side of the page because we didn't create it, did we? But what we can do in here, rather than do it twice, in fact, before we go any further, although this isn't about styles, you do have default text styles in here. And you may well find that you've got some footer styles. If not, you can create them. It is a good idea to use styles even if you're using master, so just something to be aware of. At the moment, I'm going to just make sure that this is not quite so black, so it's a little bit too much in your face. So let's go and get a nice pale grey for that. And 12 points is probably a bit big, so I shall take that down to 10. Right, so we have our text frame and we have the page number in it. If we want that on the other side as well, use your option key. So hold down the option key and drag across. That makes a copy of it. And then all I need to do is line that up there. And of course in here, this is left aligned. And I need that now to be right aligned. And I have just created there page numbers on the other side. So if we go to page 2 and 3 again, we can now see we have 2 over on the left hand side, but over on the right hand side we now have page 3. Yes, Tracy, you can apply more than one master to a spread in more than one way. You can stack them and you can nest them. Oh, it gets clever. It's very good. Right, but we're on page numbers at the moment. Right, so we've got our 2 and our 3, but I'm going back to the master because sometimes that's the look you want, sometimes it's not. While that code there, the hash, is a code and it will pull through a page number, and you at this stage don't want to overtype that in any kind of way, you can add text either side of it. So if we put in here page at the beginning and then go back to our master, it now says page 2. So you can put in text that you actually type. Taking that principle a little bit further, we have page, and this is known as page X of Y, where you see in certain publications page 1 of 27 or page 10 of 27. Depends how many pages there are. And so many people I know type that in manually. Don't do that, because back in your text, back in your insert fields, as well as page number, we have total pages. And that also is a field, and that is automatically updating. So it's showing 12 because right now we have 12 pages. But that doesn't mean if we add any extra pages, it will stick at 12. It won't. So let's get back to 2 and 3, where we've got it, and see that we do have page 2 of 12, which is correct. But what if I added 4 more pages after page 12 and we leave the master set to sidebar and OK? It adds in the extra pages, but back on 2 and 3, that automatically updates. So never put that in manually. Not only can you add pages in and then you need to go in and edit it, but your document can be flexible in terms of automatically flowing over. If you use the automatic flow, then you won't know how many pages there are. So you might as well let Affinity Publisher sort that out for you. It will sort itself out. So we've now got page 2 of 16. But back in our master, we don't have that on the right-hand side. But what we can do is double click into it and copy what's on the left, go over to the right and paste it in there. We will have to, in there, make sure it is still right aligned, but then when we go back to 2 and 3, it's perfect and really straightforward. Okay, I'm assuming at this point we're okay with that so far. Right, but you can get much, much further than that. So I'm going to open up a file that I think I had open not that long ago. Right, and let's have a look at trying to do this one properly. That's interesting. The thumbnail hasn't updated, but it has now. Right, first thing you need to do with a file when you get hold of one from somewhere is check what masters you've actually got and what they're doing. So this is a practical implementation now of just what we've looked at. But I'm going to take it a little bit further. So we have Master A. What's on Master A? Well, the page numbers are actually on Master A at the bottom. These ones are centered. They're a little bit lower. Do we have a style on those? I honestly can't remember. We might well do. We may well have something in there for the footer. Right, but that's what we've got at the moment. The page numbers are on there. So what's on this second one? Well, that actually says blank. So at least we know with that one what it does. And that's why I would say to you in here, in your spread properties, it's worth naming them. This one is actually the page numbers. Now, this is a book, so it's fairly plain. It's more concerned about text on a page. And I know the layout is not fantastic, but that's because I actually produced an ebook from it, which was an adventure all in itself on account of the fact Affinity Publisher not keen on creating ebooks. But I persuaded it. So we can see the numbers at the bottom of each of these pages. But we have a practical problem. Now, a practical problem is page 1, that's okay. Pages 2 and 3, well, it says 2 and 3, but yeah, it shouldn't, should it? And then we've got a contents page, which is 4 blank and 5 with the actual table of contents on it. So really, the content doesn't actually start until we get to page 7. So putting all the stuff in here is great, but it's not actually correct for this particular document. So we need to make some changes. Now, just to prove the point that pages 2 and 3, which don't really need a number on, and if they do, they shouldn't be pages 2 and 3. One way to make it look right is to apply the blank master. That's the page number master. There's the blank master. So as I drag and drop that on it, the page numbers disappear, which are great. Now, if you wanted a page number on the right-hand side, but not the left, what you could do is, up here, you can drag the page numbers, which is a full spread. But as you drag it down here, you get a blue border around the spread, pages 2 and 3. You move that fractionally, and you are applying a 2-page spread only to the left-hand side, or only to the right-hand side. So if I drop that here, we'll have a page number, but only on the right. And that's taking us right back to what I said, that you don't have to worry overly whether you create a spread or a single page for the master. Just in case you ever want to have it applied to a spread, make it as a spread, because you can still apply it to an individual page. But let's make that, because we want that blank. So let's add the blank one to page 3. So now we've got page 1, doesn't have a page number. Pages 2 and 3 doesn't have a page number. Oh, this is looking good then. So what page number would be on the contents page? And if you were thinking anything other than page 5, you would be wrong. Not showing the page numbers does not remove the pages from the run of the pages. You need to do something entirely different for that. So let's have a look at how we do that. And that involves something completely different, which is the section manager. So document section manager. This is going to interact with your master pages and enable you not only to have page numbers on the pages, but this is going to allow you to control what type of numbering there is, and in conjunction with the master pages, whether they're shown or not. So what I mean by that is, we already have in here at one section, and the first section is just one page, and it's the cover page. Then we have the rest of the book, and it's starting on page 2, and it's going all the way through to page 90. Now remember where page 2 is. Page 2 is to the left of the preface. So if we added page numbers to that so we can see it, let's get that on there. That's page 2, that's page 3, and so forth. So everything else is in one section. But we know that the book itself doesn't start until page 7. So we have potentially 2 other sections, or maybe one section, depending on how you look at it. So we need to make another section. And this time it's just pick page 3. Page 3 will do nicely for this. We don't particularly need that for page 2, but we can leave it alone because we're just not going to do anything with that. So as you look at what we've got here now, I would like on the preface page to be able to put a little I rather than have a 1, because otherwise it's going to get confusing having 1, 2, 3 and then, oh, then we're going on to another page 1, are we? So we can number them in different ways. So this one here, I don't want to number the entire book. I just want the preface, which starts on page 3. And if we say it finishes on page 5, which is where the index is, the table of contents, then we need another section. And we need the other section to start from this page, which is actually page 7. So we've got the cover, we've got this section that's just for page 2, we've got this one starting on page 3, which is going to be our front matter, but we need another one. And this one is starting at 6, we don't want it to start at 6, we want it to start at 7. That's not bad as far as it goes. We may even choose to add extra to it, but at the moment let's leave it like that, because what I'm doing with it is I'm putting in the page numbers. Right, so up on this one where it says section 1, it also says cover, whereas these don't say what they are. So section 3 is actually front matter, and you can name a section by putting that in the little box there. So front matter. It doesn't matter what you call it in there. I would say stick to things for the admin side like this that you understand exactly what it is. Something like this, you may want to split this up. At the moment, this is the book. So I'll just put book so we know what we're working with. Right, page 1. We don't want any page numbers on it, so it doesn't matter. But it's going to say start page numbering at 1 because it's the first page. 2, we're not concerned about at all. So start on page, it doesn't matter, not bothered. But the front matter matters a lot. The front matter is actually physically the third page. It's this one here. And it has a 3 on it at the moment, but we don't want that. So where it says start on page 3, we do want it to start on the physical page 3, but we want to restart the page numbering. And as soon as we do that, it changes to a 1 down here. So keep your eye on what's going on down here. And this is still page 2. That's because it's being numbered from the previous section. But this is what we're concerned about, that starts on page 1. But number style wise, we don't want it to be numbers as in 1, 2, 3, 4. We want it to be I, etc. We want the Roman numerals there. So we've sorted that out. The book section, we do want it to start on physical page 7. That's in here. Now, why is that not saying 7 at the moment? And that's because we reset the numbering from the front matter to be page 1. So that is page 1. So we've got over here 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it's physical page 7, but in terms of the numbering we've set up, it's page 5. But you and I know that it's page 1. So we go into the section, start on physical page 7, do not continue, restart, and restart at 1. And this time I do want this to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we can close that. So all of the sectioning enabled us to control the page numbering. The second half of getting the page numbering right in the book is to use the master pages. So let's go right back to the top. That one did not have the page numbers applied to it. It's got the blank one. If we apply the page numbering to it, we will get page 1 at the bottom. We don't have to do anything magic to get rid of that in the section manager. All we need to do is make sure that the master that's applied to it doesn't show the page number. Then we go into 2 and 3. 2 and 3, interesting, because it is a spread. But on the right-hand side, we want to see the letter I. On the left-hand side, we don't. Well, we are seeing correctly what we want on the right, but on the left we're not. So I'm going to drag the blank master and put that onto page 2, and that solves the problem. As we go in here, sometimes these are renumbered, sometimes they're not. I'm going to leave that as part of the front matter, and therefore it's 3, but I. And again, to get rid of it off the blank page, which I'd probably have some kind of graphic or image on, I'll take the blank master and apply that to page 2. And that should disappear. Why is my blank master not making that disappear? Good grief, what's the matter with this? Why are you not working? Let's clear the master off that. It isn't even clearing the master off that, is it? Come on. It's now telling me it hasn't got a master, which is fine. So I can either leave it without a master entirely, which will mean there's nothing showing on it, or I can apply the blank one. Doesn't matter. Right. Oh, hang on. It's this one, isn't it? Right. It should be you. Let's apply it to you. There we go, and it's disappeared. Okay. So this one is then our page 3 of our front matter page 3, and when we go into here, that is okay. This one over here though has a Roman numeral, and we don't want that. So let's take that and we'll clear the masters from there as well. Page number's gone. And now when we go through the book, everything is numbered correctly. However, we could take that further. One thing to check when you've finished all of this is to go back up here and see what this is saying. This is a table of contents, and it isn't one that I have manually typed. It is a table of contents inside Affinity Publisher. Don't forget to update it, because chapter 1, or in this book, stave 1, is still saying it's starting on page 7. So you do need to go into here. That I've highlighted is the table of contents. So in here we have table of contents. You can insert one. You can update all of them, but I'm just going to update this one. And that will then update those page numbers, so you've got page 1 where it's actually starting. So we've used 2 different features of Affinity Publisher entirely to achieve that. One is the sections, so the section master, and the second is the master pages. And in conjunction with each other, it gives you complete control over how you number those pages. Okay, so we've done that. But let's take a little step back and look at some other fields. So, one thing you could do, and shall we do it? Oh, let's do it. Never mind how long it takes, let's do it. Right, in the Document Section Manager, we've got the entire book as one section, starting on physical page 7, which is this one here. If we go through, then the second one here on that page, which is physical page 27, right, is a second chapter. And we may want to use our sections to do something that we can do with the master pages, something else, which is we could put in here, so we're looking at this page 27 there. You can put that in and it's chosen page 26. I'm going to make that page 27. This time I do want the numbering to continue. There's a reason that I'm doing this, but it's not necessarily the reason that you might think. So I've got section 5, I've got section 4. Section 4 is no longer the entire book, is it? Section 4 is stave 1. And section 5, obviously I'd then have to have section 6, 7, 1 for each stave. But I'll only do 2 here. So this one is stave 2. Now you might think, well, why on earth have you bothered doing that? Because you've not made any changes. The book still starts, the text of the book, on page 7. And all we've done is say, yeah, but when you get to 27, that's stave 2. But there is a reason for that, and it involves naming the section. Because if we go back to the page numbers master, where we had the page numbers in the middle, there, nothing to stop us adding a little extra to this, which is I'm going to put a text box over there and put in it a different field code. So back up to the text and down to the insert fields, not the page number this time or anything else. We have a code for section name. So if I put that in, that's what it will display as, because at the moment we're looking at the master. And when we're looking at the master, it just puts a code in to tell us that that's going to be the section. Now that is a fine colour, no problem with that, but it's a bit big. So let's take that down so it much more merges in with the rest of it. In fact, might be a good idea to take it all the way down. Come on. You're not so... There we go. And have it match up with that. And it's also, I think, that's bold, and we don't particularly need it bold either. But we might want to put it italic, and I think quite small, so it doesn't detract from what we've got in the actual document. And all we need to do with that is lined up beautifully. When we switch to an actual content page, you will see down there that you now have the section number, or the section name rather. If you wanted that to include this, which in this particular book is probably a good idea because there are 5 staves and it's the visiting of the spirits and all the rest of that. And all you need to do, back into the section manager, and where we are naming it, so there's stave 2, and just paste that in. Probably not the best idea to have it in capitals like being shouted at. Fortunately, I have an Alfred script that sorts that out for me and makes it the right case. And there we go, the first of the 3 spirits. And I would then do that with the other sections. So we'll just do it with section 1. So we've got Marley's Ghost. And we will put, we see we've got stave 1 at the bottom, but we actually need to go into the section manager, find stave 1, and in where we have stave 1, paste in the name, and in my case here, to get that lowercase quickly, use the Alfred magic, and OK. And now any page in here on the right hand side will have stave 1 Marley's Ghost on it. You should be ahead of me in terms of what you need to do in here if you want this on the other side, which is just grab hold of this, holding the Option key down, make a copy of it, get it lined up. There we go. That's not lining up. It looked like it was lining up, but it's lying to me. There we go. That's lined up. And then when we go back to the pages, we've got the page numbers in the middle, and we've got the section heading, the section name in there as well. So if you think about a book that you're making, maybe like a training manual or something like that, you may well find you've created the most amazing complex setup where you've got page numbers in one corner and you've got section names in another. And what about other things? Because I can't, well, I'm following the chat as best I can. But things like what I get asked about are things like, what if I wanted the document name in there? And again, I see so many people type it in and then somebody else changes the name of it and then nothing matches. So how can we do things like that? And this is where it gets even better. This is so amazing. Right, I'm going to make, can I put it on the right? I'm going to put it on the right just because we can in the page numbers. But in essence, what I need is another text box that looks like that. But this time over on the right hand side of that page. So let's get that lined up as best I can quickly. This time I don't want the section name in it. I want what the book is called. So one way of doing it, obviously, is to type in A Christmas Carol. That will work fine as long as it's called A Christmas Carol. It's not aligned properly, but that is what you can do. But that's not the way to do it either, is it? No. So I'm going to get rid of that and right align this. So it lines up with the right hand side. But this time I want to go and find the field code for the document. Okay, so back up to text, back down to insert, and then fields, and then have a look at what we've got. Page number, yeah, we've used that. Next frame page number. Now that would be used where you have, think of a magazine where it says continued on page X. That is where you would use that. The previous one, that is where you would put it where it says continued from page X. All very good, but not what we're looking for. Total pages? No. Last page in section? No. Section name? No. Date and time? No. Created date? No. Save date? No. Oh dear. But there is this more option at the bottom. So let's try more. Didn't look like a thing happened. Is that right? Well, it is. That's because what happened off screen. It brought to the front the Fields panel. Now, we've seen the Fields panel before. Not today, but the Fields panel is half of where the magic happens with data merge, which is why it's open at the bottom. But it's not that we want either. It's all the other information that we have in here, and it's all split up into individual groups. So at the top, we've got the document information. So it's down. It's got me down as author. That's probably because it's me that's registered Affinity Publisher. But obviously, the actual author here, if we wanted to use the author, then you're looking at putting Charles Dickens in there. Right, I haven't created any tags, but you can do just by typing them in. You could put a comment in. Now, you might say, well, why would I put a comment in there? But if we could use that comment anywhere else in the document, it's a good way to have a comment or comments while you're working. But then at the point you're ready to create this file, maybe as a PDF or send it out, instead of thinking, I now need to go through the document with a fine-tooth comb and delete all the comments that I've put in, you just have to come to one place and delete the comment. And we've got subject and we've got revision, but what we do have is the title, and it was the title that we were actually looking for. But we also have, while we're in here, all the document statistics. So when it was created, when it was saved, who's edited it. It's been saved 6 times. There you go. There is the file name. So we had the title up here, but there is the actual file name. There is the path where it is. It's in my Dropbox projects, today's demo title, and there are 90 pages to it. So this is all valuable information that you can use within your document. You've then got the sections within your document. So it's actually showing you the section name, etc. in here. And then you've got continuations and general information. Now, what we wanted was the file name. And there's the file name. If I double click that, it puts it straight in the box at the bottom. Now, you might not actually want it to have the AFPUB on the end, and that's just unfortunate, isn't it? But, you know, normally if you want that, you probably want the entire thing. The way to put it in, and we'll have to have this very tiny if we're actually going to see it, but we can always zoom in to see it, can't we? Is that's the actual file name, but this is the file path. And if you want that in there as well, then you can do. So we might even need that smaller still to see it. There we go. So it's got the full path in it and it's got the file name in it. And the thing with that is I would then need in between those to go and put that in. So it's got the final slash on it. But the benefit of doing it that way is when it's moved, that gets updated. So it kind of tracks it and you can see where it was when you actually produced it, or you can look at that and know where that file is right now. And you do that with these extra fields. So these are the magic extra fields that they actually hide from you. I expected that to be brought up in some kind of like extra menu, but it's actually a panel, and the panel you use for other things. The number one thing that fields panel is now used for is the data merge at the bottom. Obviously, this is not a data merge document, but if it were, I would have all my data sources listed, and I would have all the fields from the data merge to add to my file. Okay, let's get that out of the way. So that is the extras. So if I also wanted in here, so let's say I just want the file name. So we'll get rid of that field. But the file name, and then I put a space, a dash and a space. And now I want to put in the author. And all I need to do is make sure I've got access to the fields and double click the author. You are actually in here double clicking the label and not the data. If you double click the data, you're editing the data. If you want to add this as a field, you double click the label. And we've got that in there. Once we've got it in once, we can then copy and paste that wherever we need to do it. So I'll drag it across there. It's now we've got less data in it. It's actually a bit on the tiny side, isn't it? So let's pick up that. We've got the first one. Hang on, there we go. Pick up the first one and pick up the second one, and we'll make that bigger. So at least 7, I think, and then at least we can read it. When we go back to our document, now we've got lots of information. We've got the stave number, we've got the page number, we've got the file name, and we've got the author in it. So you can just keep adding as much information as you want to. I am seeing there are questions. My trusty assistant is making a note of these questions, and we will answer them in the Q&A at the end. Okay, so we've got our more fields in. That's one of the most advanced bits because it's so hidden. But we have extra things that we can do. So we need to think about working with these masters. So I'm going to show you a file where I've got lots of different masters. So I'll save that file, but I'll actually open up the Office Summit 2021 file. Right, this is a genuine file. So we're not playing around with test files. This is a genuine file. So like I always say, see what you've got in the file. So what we're looking at in the master pages is there's quite a few, but each one is named, so it's very clear what each one is for. So this particular document, it will have tips and tricks in it about all of the Microsoft products. So we have OneNote, Excel, Outlook, OneDrive, Word, PowerPoint, and I then have a black one, and I've got a cover and a back cover, and all of these are master pages. I also have in here, as you look at it, continuations. So that's what a continuation page looks like. That's how the article would start, but it would continue like that. So, and then I have a plain continuation page. What I don't have is any continuation pages for these types. As just one for each one. So if the tutorial or whatever it is I'm talking about in relation to PowerPoint goes longer, then I need a continuation page there. And there's a couple of ways that we can deal with that. So we have our Office continuation page. That's a good starting point. I would like a continuation page for OneNote. So I'm going to duplicate that master, and then that will appear underneath here. I will drag that. So when I looked at dragging them, you might have thought, does it matter? Well, it does in relation to something like this, because you want this to match. Right, I then need to change these so they all match. I happen to have a Microsoft Office and a Microsoft palette. Which purple's which? I don't know either. But there is a different way to view these, where you can show them not as small or medium or large, but as a list. And if I do that, I can see that is the colour for OneNote. So all I need to do with that is to click that. That's when the colours come in handy, isn't it? Just click these, and instead of that saying Office 365, that is going to say OneNote. And we have taken an existing master, duplicated it, and now it's going to perfectly work with this one, apart from the fact that it's still called Office Continuation. So go into the spread properties, and instead of Office Continuation, this one's going to be a OneNote continuation. Then all you need to do is apply that as and when it is relevant for you. So just a little tip and trick with that. Now these ones actually were made a long time ago. So if we look down here, we have a page number, and that is on the same master. But when we look at the continuations, so this one here, there's the page number, and that continuation, that's got a page number, and this continuation, that's got a page number as well. Is there a problem with that? And it's not a technical problem, it's a practical problem. When the client comes back and says, yeah, these page numbers, they're great, can they be bigger? Two ways to make those page numbers bigger. Firstly, it would depend on whether you used a text style or not for the actual page number. If you did, just change the style. But if they come back and say, well, actually, we'd like them moved to the middle, then a style isn't particularly going to help you. Could do if you made that full width, but let's assume you haven't. So maybe there is a better way to organise the entire range of master pages that you have. So we have the page numbers here. That's there and there. I'm going to leave that one alone, the Office one. But the plain one, I'm going to come in and I'm going to delete these. And I'm going to come into the OneNote continuation and delete them as well. We'll have a look at what that's actually done in our pages. So we have the front cover. We have this page here, which is the table of contents. We've got Welcome to the Summit, and then we move on to content in here. So it's pages like this that we're looking at dealing with. Now, we have the page numbers. They are in there, and they are pulling through from the master because this is using this master. And this master has actually got the page numbers on it. But we've just deleted them from everything else because there's a better way to do it. So in our master, the one master that has the page numbers left, this one here, I am going this time not to delete them, I'm going to cut them. So I have cut the page numbers off there. And I'm going to make another master, so an entirely new master. This one is master N. You can see how far down the alphabet we've gone. But this one, I'm going to put the page numbers on. And everything else is absolutely fine with that. I'm happy with the margins, the whole thing, and okay. And now I've got a page numbers master. And all I need to do is paste the page numbers back in. So I've cut them from one master and put them on another. Here's the issue. Now I go to this page. This is a content page within the document. Now there's no page numbers on it. Well, that's okay, isn't it? That's straightforward. All I need to do is grab the page numbers and drag it over there, and that'll work fine, won't it? Oh dear, not totally. We've got the page numbers there and there, but we've lost half the stuff on here because it's replaced it. So when you drag and drop a master onto a content page, it will apply that master and delete anything else that was applied to it. That's not what we want. So we will undo that. So we now have no page numbers. But what we can do is we can right click on here. And where are we up to? Spread properties. No, that's not what I am looking for. No, it's not. Where have you disappeared to me? Do we actually have the... yeah, I want to apply a master to it. Now, the thing is, there's already a master applied to it. So it might seem a redundant option to have in there. But if we click on Apply Master, it will tell us a few things. Starting from the top. It's saying you've got Apply Master. Which master do you want to apply? And it's choosing the top one. Obviously, in our case, we're looking for the page numbers one, which is right at the bottom. But before we do anything like that, it wants to know where you want it applied. To the current spread, all pages, odd and even. Where do you want it applied? And I'm just going to say to pages 2 and 3 at the moment. You can see that there is a tick in the box for replace existing. And that's what was happening. We dragged and dropped it, and it replaced all the branding with just the page numbers. But if we were to choose from here the page numbers and take the tick out of replace existing, what you are about to do is stack masters. So you're applying 2 masters. You can apply 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. You go through this process, you choose what master to apply, but you take the tick out of replace existing. So let's click on there, and now we've got everything. I'll answer that question right now. What was the difference between deleting the page numbers and cutting the page numbers? Where I deleted them, I didn't need to repurpose them. The last time, so the last instance of the page numbers that I actually had, I wanted to cut them because I wanted to put them somewhere else. I wanted to put them on this master on their own. So if I'd have deleted them, I wouldn't have had anything to paste on here, and I would have to have recreated them. So I cut the last instance so I could paste it onto the page numbers by itself. Right, so in here we've got these applying. Now, why is that any better? And it's better because, let me put a couple of extra pages in here. So we'll put another 4 pages, but we'll put them after page 3. And it's looking for me to tell it what master I want it to use. And I'm going to choose the Office continuation. So, OK to that. So I've started on this page, and this has the Office continuation on it. And so do these. But these don't have the page number. So you might think to yourself, well, we know now that if we choose a page and we go to Apply Master, then we can choose the page numbers down at the bottom, and we can make sure that there's no tick in Replace Existing. And then as soon as we click OK, the page numbers should appear. Where are the page numbers? Why are they not appearing? Crying out loud, don't keep doing this. There they are. There they are. They've appeared as if by magic. Right. So far, so good. I would say with the page numbers, there's a better way to do it. But I've shown you that way where you can stack masters in case the content you do want to keep in separate pages. So another example of creating a page like that would be this logo here. If I wanted that logo to appear on certain pages, multiple pages, I could do it manually like that. I could do it as a linked graphic. So when I update the graphic, it updates the lot. Or I could create a master page and put the graphic on there. And then if I wanted to move it, scale it, recolor it, or change it, I change it in one location on the master. But I wouldn't want to put that with page numbers and with branding, because then I'd end up with 300 masters. So I just want to make one master with that on it. So if I cut that, make a new master. So this one will have as the logo, and OK. It creates it in here, and then I just paste that in place. It's gone from in here, but I can do exactly the same again. So this has 2 masters applied to it already. And these masters are stacked. And I'm making sure that you understand the difference, because we're coming onto something else that's not stacked. So to stack another one, I go back to Apply Master. I find the logo, which will be down here. Don't replace existing. Don't do that, because there's 2 applied already. And then OK. And the logo comes back. Right, what you need to be aware of at this point, because when we come on to the next bit, you could get confused. What we have in this file, we have the table of contents over there. So that's lit up there. We've got the rectangle that's actually on that side. So that's not part of the master. It's actually in here. We've got some sample text, and we've got the Welcome to the Summit text. The top 4 elements in the Layers panel are content on the content page. Below that, we have 3 other elements, and they are fractionally different. Look at that orange bit there. The orange bit is indicating to you that it's either a symbol or it's a master, and in this case, obviously, it's a master. If I just quickly show you on other pages, you've got, that's not too good, we got another one, we got a simple one, we got 2 on that one, good grief. There, that one there, that has a master of Office 2 pages applied. That is the master, and there is only 1 layer containing all of the master content. But you know we have stacked on this page 3 masters. And that was the original master. That is the page number master. And that is the logo master. Each one of those. If I toggle this off, it all disappears. So you can toggle it off if you want to, but there it is. If I unfurl these, you can actually see what's inside it. There's the Office logo. Unfurl this one, and it's got text with the page number on the right, text with the page number on the left. Open this one, and it's got all sorts in it. It's got left things and right things and the little banner across the top, and it's got the Office 365 on it. But look, as you're looking at this, you can't edit it, because it's got these crosses on it to indicate to you, oh, this is from a master, leave it alone. There are ways to do that, but we're going to look at that shortly. At the moment, just be aware that the master content is locked, which is a good thing, so you're not dragging things around. So another reason to have the logo is if you decide you want to move the logo, you are not moving the logo there. But if you move it in here, it will move it on every page you have this master applied to. So this page has 3 stacked masters, and you can do that as much as you want. There are occasions it may prove problematic. So if we look at this one, we have 2 masters applied here. We've got the Office continuation and we have the page numbers. Let's apply another one. Like 2 isn't enough. So we'll go and apply another master. But this time we'll choose the Excel one. So I will choose the Excel one and put that there. And that gives us a bit of an issue. I've actually fixed it in the master. But it is actually, this one here, this Excel master, does include its own page numbers. But I'm going to pretend it doesn't, okay? And explain what the issue is. The Excel master is sat over the top of the other master, so we can't see the Office continuation. for a start. If we had applied to this, so let's do another one, apply another master, this one being the logo, and OK. That one comes at the top because it's on top of the Excel master. But if you want to change these around, you can do. So our original page numbers, they're sitting right on top of the other ones, but I put these on the top. So you can move these around if you wanted to. I mean, that looks shocking, but you can. If you're not getting the effect that you want on a page, then seriously contemplate, okay, how should the masters be stacked? And remember, these are not nested, they are stacked masters. They are stacked one on top of the other, and you keep the control of the stacking order of them. So sometimes you might hear that referred to as a Z order, but it's the stacking order that the masters are stacked. Right, we should probably go for a new file and make it a little bit simpler to see what's going on at this next point. So I'll get a new file. I will make sure we've got 12 pages in there and a default master, which is going to give us a master A, isn't it? So back to being incredibly simple, just one master. Right, what I'm going to do in that one, I'm going to use the Office Summit one just purely for speed. We have in here our logo and we have our page numbers. So let's take our page numbers. I'm going to copy those and I'm going to paste them onto Master A. Then I will rename Master A, so spread properties to rename it, and we'll call that page numbers. Okay, so far so good. Page numbers are on there. Then we need some other stuff. So we need another master. So we'll make an Excel master and OK on there. We'll make another one. We'll do a PowerPoint one and OK on there. And we'll do one final one, which is the logo. Right. OK. Now each of these is going to need some content. So I'm going to make this easy by copying and pasting it from here. But in here we're looking at our master pages there, which is fine. My logo is at the bottom, so I'm going to copy that logo and I'm going to put that on the logo master, which is that one. That may or may not be the best place to put it. For what I want, it probably isn't, so I'm going to put it down there in that corner. There's the logo. Right, the PowerPoint one is purely colour. So if we look through our list, there's the PowerPoint one. Now, there is no option from the menu anywhere to say import master pages from, but it's easy. All you need to do is Command and A, Command and C, and paste. And now you've got a PowerPoint page in there. What I don't want with this, of course, is the page numbers, because we're going to do that a different way. And then we've got the Excel one, so same procedure, because I've already got it. You do want to take a master from one to the other, just do that. I don't actually want the page numbers, but I will delete them when I get them in there. Again, we're doing that a different way. Okay. And our page numbers up here. So we've got 4 masters. Page numbers. There's Excel, there's PowerPoint, there's the logo. You should know by now, with what we did with the last one, that if we go in, we can apply the masters to it. Now, you wouldn't want the Excel and PowerPoint applied, but you might want the PowerPoint and the logo. So apply master, and this time choose the logo. So we're doing exactly what we did last time, not replacing. So we're building up the content page bit by bit. And the last thing that we could do on there is add, so apply master, and this time page numbers, and OK to that, and the page numbers appear. We do have a problem with the page numbers. They're grey, and that's not a good look, but we can deal with that. So back into the page numbers here, select them, and I actually want the ones on the left, but not the ones on the right, the ones on the left to be white. So we will choose white from there. You won't see anything on the master, but when you go into here, you've got a grey page number on the right. And if we scoot across to the left, you've got a white one. And what we've done is we have stacked our master pages. But there's another way to do it. So on this page here, we will create some magic with this. So we have our Excel master. And we have, let me fold this up so we can see them all. And we have our logo master. Right, if I drag and drop the logo master on top of the Excel master, the Excel master now has a master of its own. And that is nesting masters. That is different than stacking them. I'll take the page numbers and put those on. And you'll see that it behaves exactly the same way in terms of, you might think, just a minute, that's not what we want. But it is. That's exactly what happens. When you apply a secondary master, it overwrites the first master, so we lose the logo. The page numbers are there, but we're not seeing them properly because the green bit is over the top of it. But of more concern is the fact here that our logo has gone. So in here, you can also apply a master, just like a content page. You've got less options this time, but it is the logo one we want, and we don't want to replace existing. And then click OK. And now you've got two nested masters. The Excel master has two masters of its own. So if we go back to our pages and we apply one of those, so let's go to 4 and 5, and apply the Excel master, you are applying the Excel master, the logo master, and the page number master, all in one. Look over here, you only have one master. But the master itself, the Excel master, has multiple masters. So if we double click on the Excel one in here, you can see all of the stuff that is on this particular master, but these at the bottom are telling you, oh, by the way, you've got two master pages applied to this master page, and that is a nested master. Now, when would you use that as opposed to a stacked master? It really depends on the document. It doesn't make sense to make a stacked master if what you're doing is building up a kind of look for a content page and you're going to want to repurpose everything multiple times. You could just do that ad hoc as and when required. You might just decide, I want that logo on that page, but I don't want it on every other page that uses that master. So if we think about this Excel one, that's great. I only have to apply one master. That's awesome. I don't have to sit there and apply 3. But do I want the Office Summit logo on every page that has the Excel master applied? If I do, then make it nested. If I don't, then make it a stack. Now, you may say, well, look, if I've got that Office Summit logo and it's always going to be in that place on that master, why bother nesting it? And the answer to that is, what if you want to apply that Office Summit logo on its own? Then it needs a master of its own, which it's got. So I could apply that down to 6 and 7 without making it a PowerPoint master or an Excel master. It's just a master on its own with that logo in a particular place. So what I would suggest is, before you even start doing all of this, because it's too late once you've done it, it's like trying to retrospectively fit styles together. Sit down and flat plan it. And a flat plan is where you organise on a piece of paper what your document is going to look like, how many pages it's got, and what masters do you think you would need. It is one of those things that it's very tempting to sit at the computer and start making them. But it's also very easy to hare off down a rabbit hole and then think what masters apply to what. And you'll spend longer unbaking the cake than you would if you'd taken that little bit of time at the beginning and set it out so you create the masters that you need before you start work. Okay, but if you've got any questions about that, put that in there as well. Now, there is still yet more, believe it or not. Right. That's quite complicated enough, but I'm going to take a step back and look at editing the content of master pages. So to do that, what would be the best one to show that on? Probably this one, where we've got some content, like this page here or the other pages. Right. We have a master that is based on, a master page somewhere. So let's get our purple one, because that's blindingly obvious which one that is. If I want to make any changes to this, then a lot of it's coming from the master. This amount is on the page itself. That's what the master looks like with no content. That's all the content. This bit here is the master itself. And as you already know, the master is locked. There is a lock on it there. So if we wanted to make this a different colour, let's say OneNote changed their colour, which they did on the Mac, it was hideous, like this glowing pink thing here. And you know that background is on the master. So you go back up to the master, you find that one, the OneNote one. Where's the OneNote one gone? There we go. And you can grab this shape, it's not locked in any way at all, and you can just pick up the colour that you want. So it was, let's say we don't want it that colour, we want it more pinky, like that. And we've made a change. That will ripple through to every page that we have this master applied to. And if I want to apply it to that, I can pick it up from there. So if we go back to our page, that has rippled through. But it can be a pain when you want to make a change like that to have to constantly go back to the master to sort it out. So I'm trying to undo it. There we go. So I've undone the colour change that I've just made. I have one page in this document that's based on that master at the moment. And sometimes it's far easier to try to edit the master when I'm looking at a page that's got the content on it. Because if we do a comparison, that's okay. But in terms of where's my heading and where do I want to put this logo, it's difficult because I've got no content. But this page has got the content on. So this gives me context for making changes to my master. But we know we can't make changes to the master. Doesn't like it. But we can. Now, the one caveat on this is be careful. Don't go around deleting things. Be careful. But if you right click on this, you actually have three options. You have edit frame content, which is the default. You can also see that the lock is turned on as well, but it's these three that we're interested in. Okay. The frame content is where you have frame content on a page on the master, which I haven't on here, so I'm not going to talk about that one. That's the default. But I want to edit the entire master. I need to update the OneNote colour. It's changed, and I need to update everything. But I want to do it from this page where I've got context. So if I click Edit Linked, we get this orange bar at the top. This big orange bar. Do not miss that big orange bar, and it tells you what it's doing. You are editing OneNote linked. And that is a finish button. Okay, so don't miss the big orange bar, because everything you're doing at this point, you're going to be making changes to the master itself. As soon as I click on that big block, look what happened over here. The master actually opened up and the rectangle was selected. Previously, we couldn't do that. But doing that edit linked takes us into here, and now we can. So I can make that purple that we had there, the lighter purple. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick it from the icon. So they did change their colour, but for context, I'd need access to that icon to pick up the right colour. And if I was editing the master from the master pages, I wouldn't have that. That icon's not there. So editing it this way, I've got access to the content I need to pick up the colour and pick it and apply it. Oh dear, that's bad. Right, and so I'm in the right context and I've got the right content to do it from. But look what's happened over here. The master has actually updated, despite the fact we're not actually in that master making these edits. Because we selected Edit Linked, it's editing it back to the master. When you have finished, do not forget to click Finished. And what that will do is lock up the master again and leave it all be. Okay, so now I'm clicking there and I'm not selecting it. Okay, Right, that's editing it linked. If we had multiple pages that were using the same master, so let's do the Excel one next. Let's make it lime green or something. Right, what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to put another 2 pages in after page 13 using the Excel master. There we go. There's another 2 pages. Now, this one, absolutely fine. This one, got no content, but we're not going to worry about it. Right, I'll just do that again, make sure that we know what we're doing with that, which is on this one over here. I want to edit linked. I get into that mode, I click on the rectangle and I change the green. We got a different green. Don't think we have multiple greens. We'll lighten it up considerably. There we go. So I'm at this stage, I'm picking the colour. While I'm picking the colour, only this page has changed with Excel left. So we'll make it considerably lighter and then click OK. But as I've clicked that, this should be updating. Okay, so let's finish that. And you should be updating. Why are you not updating? God, where's my Excel one up here? I don't think that one was actually applied. I think I'd been naughty with that. Okay, let me find those 2 pages and make sure we've got the right one applied. So these 2 pages here need to have this applied. And that needs to have that applied. And now they've got the right thing applied. Excel 2 pages. Awesome. I'll do the same thing again. So I'll go in there and edit linked. Choose this block. Change the colour. And as I change that, the master changes, the one I'm editing changes, and any page that has that master applied to it changes. OK. And then I've finished, click finished. Let's do that now with the Word one. So in here we have a Word one somewhere. Where are you? Oh, there's the Word one. So I'm going to make sure that that is applied before we go any further. Then I will add an extra couple of pages in. So let's add 4 pages in. And we'll apply the Word master. So we've got all of these in here. Right, this one, I think to myself, oh, that looks fine. That looks fine. But I'll take some graphics and I'll put them on another page here. And this one, I want to look different. For whatever the reason, I want it to look different. So this time, when I right-click on the master in the Layers panel, I choose Edit Detached. It looks exactly the same, apart from the fact that that word there says detached, and before it said linked. Right, so I pick the block that I want over here, and let's say we want to turn that a very different shade of blue. Electric, a light electric blue. And close. And it has not changed the master. It has not changed the other pages. So what I've done with this one, in essence, is to create an exception to the master page that is applied to this page. So hopefully that will indeed make sense. What will happen if you drag that back over it is it will turn it back, because what you've done is override the exception that you'd created. The exception that you create lives local to the page. So right click, edit to detached, choose what you want, make it lurid. You are only affecting that block on this page. Right, I will click finish on that and I will show you what that looks like in the panel. So first of all, this page is just the master. We have Word 2 pages as the master. There is an orange stripe down the side to indicate it's the master page. When I use the disclosure triangle, everything that's inside it has a solid orange line, indicating it's exactly the same. No changes have been made to any of those elements. They are exactly the same as on the master. If I go down to this one, which also has the Word 2 pages applied and also has the stripe down the side, when I open the disclosure triangle, all the things that we didn't change, so we didn't change any of these, have got the solid orange line. Move down And the rectangle on the right has a solid orange line, but this one that we changed has a dashed line. So I'll move off it so it's just a little bit clearer. That line there is a dashed line, and that is telling you it's an exception to what's on the master. Why does it bother telling you that? Well, if you've made some changes and you forget and you then reapply the master, you will lose your changes. So that is indicating to you, just a minute, this didn't come from the master. It's part of the master, but dashed, it's like only half included in the master because you have made local changes to it. So always do a quick check-in here before you do anything catastrophic and overwrite things and just think, okay, that one's had some changes made to it. And you instantly know that that's had changes. It's also important if you get documents from other people because they may have done all kinds of things that they didn't even intend to do. And you're looking in here, it's a good idea to look in here to think, because this word thing here, what could have happened is that they thought to themselves, oh, right, okay, I'll do an edit detached on that because I want this to be a different colour. And then decide that they don't want that. And then they turn it back and think, well, that's like near enough. Or you could even pick it up. You could even go and pick up the right blue from over there and apply that. That is now the same colour as the master and all of the other pages that have that applied to them. Isn't it? So basically, we've turned it back, have we? No, we've not. Because this is still showing as a dashed line. What does that mean for you? Because you can't tell. Right, if I go back to the master, and remember what I've got here, I've got 3 spreads that have that master applied to them. And in the master, I look at this colour and I think, yeah, we don't want that colour. We want it, the lovely pale blue that we had. So let's go get a lovely pale blue, like that. I think that's enough to see, isn't it? There's a definite change there. The master has changed. The first page we had it applied to has changed. The third page we had it applied to has changed. This one, not changed. No. Because although it was the same colour, you'd overridden the colour with the same colour, and it thinks, okay, so it's more important on this page to retain that colour than it is any changes made to the master. Now, if you're thinking, oh dear, I could get myself into a big, big mess here, all you need to do to fix that is to drag and drop the master back over the page, and when we open it, so let's go to that page again, when we open up the master, you can see everything's got a solid line to tell you all of this content is coming from the master. Oh, right, we've got a question here. Can you explain the eyedropper colour picker again? It always turns to black when I click on it. Okay, right, let me just go and pick up another colour. We've got lots of word colours, haven't we? Right, what you do with this, you can click and drag either the eyedropper or the colour well, but you have to click once and hold and drag. And then wherever you hover, that's the colour you want, you then let go. And that loads the colour into the colour well there. Once you've got an object that you want to apply that to, select the object and click once on there. But if you click on here and then you try and go and pick up a colour, it won't do a thing. You actually have to click and hold as you drag and then pick up like a dark colour like that. Then select where you want it applied and then click the colour picker once. I have a whole video on there working with colour in Affinity Publisher. It's hugely long and it covers absolutely everything, and I cover that in there as well. If you want more options when you're picking a colour, you actually have a colour picker tool over here. And that will let you pick up a colour, and it works in double ways. It loads the colour into the eyedropper and it formats what's selected. You can also, with the colour picker tool, choose an average. So if I wanted a fairly large average off this shirt, but as I move around, it's giving me an average, not a particular colour. It's an average colour. So the colour picker in the tools colour picker tool, gives you a lot more options, but just for speed, I just tend to use this one. But if you want an average of a colour, that's the way to go. You can also in here choose whether it's off the current object or whether you're choosing globally. And then you can choose to apply it to the selection. So for instance, if I have this over here, we'll make that blue, and it's not selected, and I go and get this colour picker tool, then nothing will change colour, apart from it's loading the colours in at the top. But if I have something selected, and then I go get the colour picker tool, as long as apply to selection is turned on, as I've made my change in here and I go down to there, it will automatically apply to anything that I had selected at the time. There's lots of different ways to work with colour, trust me. Check out the video, Working with Colour in Affinity Publisher. Okay, so 3 different ways to edit the content on the master pages. The easiest way, the most predictable way, is to go to the master page and make your edits. And all the things that you see here in the layers panel are the things that you are editing. 2 other ways to edit. Go to the actual page itself, and when you look at the master, you are seeing the same things in there as you had when you were looking at the individual master. But I've already made changes to that one, so that won't work too well, will it? We'll go to that one, an Outlook one. And I've got an Outlook left and an Outlook right. There we go. So there's all the stuff that we've got applied to that. And what you need to do in there is choose to either edit linked, which is exactly the same as editing the master page directly in the master pages disclosure triangle in the pages panel. Exactly the same, but the benefit to you is you're working with context. You are working on the page with content, but you are editing the master page. The other way to do it is to edit detached, and you edit detached where you want to make an exception to your master page in just this page. So I want to use that on 50 pages, but on this page I want to make one exception to it, and that's when you use edit detached. Either edit linked or edit detached will give you the orange bar, and you need to click finish on the orange bar as soon as you have finished editing the master. Hence the orange bar, you know, it's very distinctive in the interface to make sure you don't make any mistake and then carry on editing and start putting more and more and more stuff in the master. Here, I have seen, I got this file from a gentleman and he had no idea how he'd managed. Something was on the page, he couldn't select it, couldn't delete it, it wasn't on the master. And how it had happened was he'd obviously managed to go into edit the master mode, put something on the page and totally forget that that's where it was. And in essence, it was locked and couldn't get rid of it. But what you need to do is to go in and edit it. And that orange, when you've finished, very important to click close and make sure that you come out of it. Okay, right, checking my list. Done everything. Yay, master pages, done everything. So quick recap and then we can do the Q&A. Okay, so let's get back into there. So to recap everything that we covered, there was quite a lot that we covered. Creating master pages themselves, adding content to master pages, looking at single master pages and applying them to your content pages. But then we stacked master pages. So that was the ad hoc way of doing it. You can randomly decide how many master pages you would like to stack behind your content page and what order those stacked master pages are applied in. If you want to formalise that a little bit more, you can create nested master pages. And that is where your master pages have master pages of their own. Think Inception. We did fields for basic things like page numbers, page X of Y. We extended it into section names, but then we went even further than that. And it was more fields, and they're hidden in the fields panel. And with that, that was where we did the author, the document title, the location of it. It was all available from the fields panel. Then we took it a bit further than that, which is into the dangerous territory of where you are editing the master page content from the content page itself. So you can either edit the master page directly, which is the safe, easy way to do it, or you've got 2 other options, edit linked or edit detached. You are editing the master page content, but you're doing it from your content page, which gives you the context of the content on your content page to work with while you edit the master. So, master pages. Right, we now need to go. Oh yes, Mad March. We are still in Mad March, only just, but we're still there, where we've been going live every Sunday. This one will be available on demand as soon as we've finished. We have one more left in Mad March, although by then it'll be Adventurous April, which is Adobe Bridge 2021, which is going to be about asset management in Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge is completely free. All you need to have to use it is a free Adobe account. That's all. And you can then download and install that. Finding it to download and install for free is a bit of an adventure, but we will have direct links next week, so you can do just that. While I've been doing After Hours, which is MacBytes After Hours, we've been doing it for almost 2.5 years. I was using an app called Pixar. It's a fantastic app, but I'm concerned they're not going to keep updating it because it gets an update very infrequently. We're talking years between updates. I briefly switched to DevonThink for asset management, and it wasn't bad, but it couldn't preview as like SVGs, which I use a lot. Now I use PowerPoint. So I begrudgingly opened Adobe Bridge, and I've been using it ever since. The only issue with Adobe Bridge is that it doesn't preview Affinity files, unfortunately. But everything else, video, audio, anything else, vectors, you name it, it can preview. So that's why I use it. So I will be showing you exactly what I do with it next week as well. And all it can do, which is quite a lot. All the other sessions we did, remember, started with the export persona. These are all available on demand right now. Surprisingly, I thought, because I put out a poll and said, what do you want to cover? And the first one we did last autumn, which was designing a newsletter in Affinity Publisher. That won. That got the most votes by far. Export persona got the next number of votes, followed by blend modes. But when I'm looking at my stats, unbelievably, the one we did last week has had 3 times the views of either of the other in the first week. And Tables was like, Tables might be interesting, don't know, might be. But Tables is doing really well. So all of those are available on demand. We'll be back on Friday night with MacBytes After Hours. So if you've never joined us for an After Hours, it's all tech and it's all demos, isn't it? But it's there's lots of chat as well. We just have a really good time. Everything that we do is available on demand on youtube.com/ElaineGiles. You could subscribe and then YouTube assure me they will let you know whenever I'm going live. You can also hit the bell icon and then you will definitely get a notification, or at least that's what YouTube promise. You can also get in touch with me if you would like to. Best way is probably the contact form on my blog, elainegiles.co.uk. But also on YouTube, I think you can send some kind of message on YouTube, I believe. Nobody's ever done it, but I am told you can. And there's LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook as well, but not on Facebook much. Not much. And we love you guys. If you love us, could you give us a like? Because it really does make a difference with YouTube. The more likes it gets, the more comments it gets, then the more it is recommended to people who have watched videos similar to this. So anything about Affinity Publisher. So it spreads the word. So we would be very grateful if you could do that. We also have a newsletter that we send out, easy 3 times a week now, with lots of tips and tricks and links to all that we're doing. So what will happen on probably Monday or Tuesday is there will be a mail about this session, and it will include all the timestamps to everything that we did. So you can just click on an individual link and it will take you to a specific part of the video. So you can just rewatch that bit if you want. Okay, then it's time for Q&A. So, what was the calamity, Mike, about not putting them in or something like that? Okay, well, one issue is they can't hear you because I've turned your microphone off. So, I'm going to go to the poster there and then I can work magic with the audio. So, let me grab the audio here. And now they can hear you. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey, Mike's here. Hey.
Right. Do you want to read the questions?
Read the questions.
Right. First of all, the comments.
Ooh, comments.
Renee says, your videos are absolutely stunning, Elaine.
Oh, thank you, Renee.
And Kim says, thanks, Elaine, that was brilliant. And Renee says, absolutely brilliant, thanks, and so very useful.
Thank you.
Peter says, is that document available to read, please? And that was pretty much the last thing you covered.
Is this the Office document?
I don't know, I'm guessing so.
If it was the Office document, not yet, but it will be. It's got some tutorial-y things in it. It's not quite finished. It's been kicking around for a while, but it's not quite finished yet. We update it whenever we do a new one, so this is the 2021 version. Actually, I was going to show you a couple of pages and I didn't get a chance, did I? So what I'll do is I'll do this and just show you. This is something that we talked about in the tables one. That's a table on the right-hand side. Cool, isn't it? So cool. I put 2 Sudokus in it for real. Easy one, and then this could take a while one. And then, as I said last week when we looked at tables, I also had in there the answers. So it was an Excel word search. So I thought I'd show you that on account of the fact we looked at tables last week. So yeah, you'll be able to do this when I finish this file. So when it is finished, I will let you know. Those on the newsletter will be first to know. Okay, so we've got other questions.
You did the eyedropper one, didn't you?
I did.
Kim says, could you teach us the Alfred trick?
Yeah, no problem doing that. Let's switch back to the desktop. This is what I do on a Saturday night. Plays with Mike's mind. Right, let me get Sublime Text up, and that's the text of Christmas Carol behind us. So what happens on a Saturday night is we have a music show and Mike types music in, don't you, Mike? Like, what have we got? The Best, Tina Turner, like that. And it'll be in lowercase, like that, or it'll be in the wrong case. Give me a song title, Mike. Something a bit longer than that. Do you know what? Let's do The Quick Brown Fox. There we go. The Quick Brown Fox. That way I don't have to think. Jumped over the doggy. I'm not going to say lazy doggy. No doggy is lazy. Right, I need some capitals in it. So I make the selection and then I bring Alfred up. Now I have a shortcut key for doing this because I'm a keyboard person. And at the point that I want to put capitals in that, I'll be on the keyboard. So I use a keyboard shortcut and it brings up Alfred. That's not bringing up Alfred. Come on. Tell me this is going to work today. There we go. And what it does, it loads the selection into Alfred. But because I loaded it in with a shortcut key, it activates a script in Alfred and it offers me all lowercase, all uppercase. The case I want, which is title case, the third one, that's always the one I want. But if I want it without spaces for some reason, then I've got the fourth option. If I want it with dashes in, I've got the fifth option, which is really handy if you're renaming graphics to upload them. Or underscores, which is the sixth option in there. So I just take it down to the one I want and press enter. How that's working in Alfred, it must be something called case. Here we go. It's either that one, it's that one. So it's change transform text case. So that's the shortcut key I use. I know it's hideous, but I know it. It's all 4 keys. It's Control, Option, Command, Shift, which I do 3 on one hand, 1 on the other, and then C. And that brings it up and it loads whatever is on the clipboard in there. It then gives you the options and it runs these filters on it. And when it's done its stuff, it copies it back to the clipboard. So it's already done that. So when I go into here, I can then paste that back in. So it will convert it automatically, but it copies it to the clipboard as well. Now, next question is going to be, where did that come from? Your guess is as good as mine. Let me have a look. It wasn't one of mine. There we go. Let's see if it's still there. It was one that I downloaded. And it looks like it is. So it's that there. It's probably a newer version, you know. Although that is coming up for 2.5 years old. Right, let me check that and put that in the chat and then you will have access to it. You will need to put your own shortcut key in, but it's that Alfred workflow and I use that all the time. all the time. I have got another one, which is this one, which I do use every now and then. That's the one I used to use. So what that one does is, if I've copied it, do I paste it in? Hang on, where's Alfred? Right. Yeah, let's say we want to convert this to lowercase. I can actually, no, that's not what we want, is it? Hang on. I'm going to need the thing copying back to the clipboard that I had. So convert case lower and then put the text in. And that technically should convert that to lowercase. So let me get Sublime back. And it's converted it. So if you have something on the clipboard, so let's take one of these, do it a different way. Let's convert that to uppercase. So what was selected there is converted to uppercase. Now I've copied it. In fact, I'll cut it so you can actually see it disappear. And now I do the convert case lower, paste it in, and when I paste it in, it's lowercase. So it's just two different ways of doing it. But the first way, the one I've put the link in for, is by far the quickest. Once you've got in your head what the shortcut key is, I use that all the time. So Mike will type a song title in, and then I'll whip in and just, instead of actually fixing the case, I'll just click on the cell, use the shortcut key, press enter, and it does it itself. It's fantastic. One of those things that makes your life a little bit easier. Right, we got any more other questions?
Brilliant Sigma says, have you ever thought of doing a digital magazine?
Oh, the other week it was writing a book, wasn't it? Oh, if only I could clone myself.
And also wants to know, how did you learn everything about Affinity?
By myself. That magazine that you just saw, let's bring that one back up. Where's the publisher magazine gone? That one. I designed that in 24 hours. And when the beta came out, it was like, oh, the beta's here. And they promised it by the end of August 2018. So there it was, 2018, August. And I'm like, Mike, it's the 31st today. Get me out of bed early. Mike said, why? I said, because they promised it by the end of August. And 10 o'clock in the morning, it came out. And I think about 2 days later, I did a full session on it, which is still available on YouTube. And I'd made all of that. I don't know how I did it in the time I had, because it was the first time I'd ever seen the application. Also, the very first day that I had hold of it, I did a brochure as well, didn't I? That ended up going off to Manchester United for print. And it was like, are you really going to use a beta application? And I did. But no, I taught myself. I've used DTP for a long time. Microsoft Publisher back in the day. Still have to touch that once a week. It's all right. Got hand sanitizer for when I've finished. What else did I use? Ventura, Corel Ventura. It was better before it was Corel Ventura. And then after that, InDesign. So I remember the very first version of InDesign coming out in the late 90s. I think it's just celebrated its 21st birthday. So I used InDesign for a long time. InDesign's incredibly powerful, but as far as I'm concerned, it's so inaccessible. Everything's like 15 levels deep. The interface has simplified over the years, but to the point now I can't find anything. So I find that Affinity Publisher is just about the right level. And it's one of those apps that you can use at any level. If you're a beginner, it's just as easy as Microsoft Publisher. But if you want to do a kind of grep replacement on a data merge, you can do that as well. So it's an amazing application. But no, I taught myself. So what else have we got, Mike?
Last question from Sarah Jameson. I'm new to Publisher and have volunteered to design a 150-page report to include front matter, table of contents and 4 major text sections. How best to plan it all, especially how to get the contents pages working. What I'm keen to have on board is a list of things I should ensure I have ready before I start flowing the text in.
One way, if it with a big document like that, would actually be Affinity Publisher is for layout. It's for layout of the final document. Although there's features in there like grep, which will help you search and replace for things, once you take it into Affinity Publisher, you should really be concentrating on the layout of it. You do not want to be finding that there are spelling mistakes and things that need changing at that point. It would make your life easier to organise the text, the content of it, outside of Publisher. and then take it in. So how I would do it with this content here, I would never, ever in a million years sit down with this content like that one and actually write it in here. No way. I would never do that. I would do that in one of two places probably. Either Ulysses, which is plain text, more likely Scrivener. Scrivener, have you heard of Scrivener? Do you use Scrivener? Scrivener enables you to work in chunks. And what the text looks like in Scrivener is totally irrelevant to what the output looks like. So you could have output that looks like a book, like a fancy, like you're looking at now, like a fancy report like that. But in Scrivener, it's just plain text. You compile out of Scrivener, or you can just copy and paste out of Scrivener. But Scrivener is fantastic helping you organise content. Let me see, have I got a Scrivener file that's got Christmas Carol in it? Christmas Carol, Scrivener file. I've probably got about 90 of them, but which is which? I'm not going to know. Let's have a look. Scrivener, Christmas Carol. Should I take your word for that? Because that looks mighty small. Demo version 2 copy. That looks like a possible, doesn't it? Do you want me to update the project? Oh, this must have been very old. Yeah, go on. Update the project. Let's see.
No, Sarah's not heard of Scrivener.
Oh, you need to look at Scrivener. Scrivener's amazing. Not that expensive either. Are you a Windows user or a Mac user? If you are a Mac user, the latest version, well, both latest versions for both is version 3, but the Mac version has been around for 3 and a bit years. The Windows version came out last week. It's updating this original project. No, it's backing it up. Then it's doing other stuff. When it's finished, I'll show you Scrivener and I'll show you why it's good for organising the content. So I would never, ever dive into Publisher and start putting content in it like that. Is this actually backing up the project, or is it just spinning beach ball of death to play with my mind? I'm possibly choosing here the option, playing with my mind.
There's a question here, why not in Sublime Text?
Why not in Sublime? You could do it in Sublime, but it depends. You'd end up with separate files. So if you've got 4 big chunks of text, nothing wrong at all with doing it in Sublime Text, BB Edit, IA Writer, anywhere you like, Byword, doesn't matter. It's just plain text. So anywhere you like. While you're doing that, you're concentrating on the content of the text, not the look of it. And many people say, oh, no, I want to format it as I go, like Word. But that way, trouble lies. Trouble lies ahead if you try and do it like that. I think I've crashed this with an old file. It doesn't like it. So what I'll do is I'll do my activity monitor and get rid of it and try and be able to open some kind of file. Really, it's just showing you. Could I do it? Oh, you've actually done it. Oh, well done. Right, this is Scrivener. What this enables you to do is organise your stuff. Don't worry about the layout of it at all. And you can put extra bits in as well. So let me just hide some of the interface. Right, so what we've got over here is, this is the binder and it's an outline. So if we fold that up, we've got the actual manuscript itself, the whole thing, but it's in actual chunks. So the preface is in one scrivening. The contents is in one scrivening. Then I have a folder for the scene for stave 1. Within that, I have the individual scenes within stave 1. And this enables me to sort all of that out in any number of different ways that you can imagine before this text sees Affinity Publisher. It's all organised in here. So let's say with this one, I'm thinking, no, I've not quite finished that one. I need to sort that out. Down here, I've got a status for it. So I could put that's still to do. Once I've got this information in here, the manuscript, this is the entire book. So if I scroll that, that's the entire book. But how it looks in here does not have to be how it looks in Affinity at all. But what I can do with it in here is manipulate it, not just in terms of the text, but in terms of a project management system. So if I go into the outline view, that's not helpful, is it? Right, let's go in here and have a look at that. What I've got in here It doesn't like my screen being this size, I'll tell you. Right, there we go. I've got the individual scene, but I've got a label that tells me that that's complete, but this is not complete. Then I've got the status of it. So it's a first draft, revised draft, final draft. All of this is editable. You can have these say whatever you want. You can have the colours changed. There's nothing in here that you can't change. And it gives you the option to manipulate the text and get that absolutely perfect before you take it for layout. And you can view this in any one of a number of ways. So if we look at this, you can see it as cards. You can see it as a timeline, although I never use that. But that you can see it as a timeline in there. What else can you do with this? It's just amazing. The things you can do with it are just stunningly amazing. What other views do I use? I'll tell you what, I will show you a file that I actually use, which is our email generator. Where am I up to with the email? Not bad. Look at this. Not bad. There's all next week sorted. So that's next week's mails. If they're grey, they're already in Notion, ready to send. If they're red, they're not. So last week, these were all the mails that we sent. And if it's green, they're done. So these are the mails. If that one was sent, that one was sent, and that one was sent. So what I do with that is then change the label. I know they've been sent, and the status is also sent. But that's just because of what I'm doing. And there's one mail to go out tonight, and there it is. And that actually turns itself into an email. So I use this for tracking it. This isn't a document I would ever put in Publisher. But what I do with this is use it for the tracking. So if we look at the start of the week and we go into the outline and I do the open all, show me them all, then I can control everything that we do from in there. So Scrivener is just amazing. I think there's a session on Scrivener for Mac, and there's definitely one on Scrivener for iOS up there. I'm contemplating demand for Scrivener for Windows. So if you'd like to see what is Scrivener, maybe how we could link it in with Affinity Publisher. Oh, there's an idea. Then let me know, and we can do a Scrivener one.
Okay. I already have Office 365, so I can use Word to make the document. Are there things that Scrivener can do that Word can't?
Scrivener?
And Renee's off for dinner.
Oh, good afternoon, Renee. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got Office, you're happy using it, then use Office. One benefit of using Office is the styles that you have in Word will translate and come into Affinity Publisher. So if you're happy using Word, then use Word. The Scrivener thing is usually where you've got a very complex layout. You know, you want to track scene by scene by scene or section by section. So something else that I would do in there, let me see if I can open that file. No, not that one. Yes, it's that one. If I knew what my files were. Right, this file's been kicking around for years and years and years. So to give you an idea, distinguishing this between Scrivener and Word. So what I've got there is a file. It's content creation. This was something that I wrote by the look of it. Let me get that full screen. There we go. This looks like a blog post that I've written. That is content creation. And if that was Word, that would be one file. So all of that blog post there would be one file. But look on the left-hand side. I've got loads of stuff in here, including completed courses, entire courses, entire course tracking in here. So there's 2 Pixelmator courses in there. So let's open up this one. And what I can do with it, you know, this is in there and you might think, I'll never find it. Look at all the rest of the stuff. But what you can do is you can actually hoist. Why aren't you working? There we go. You can hoist that and focus on just that course. And then everything for that course is in here. And what I would do with it, I'd run the whole thing from in here. So there's a table of contents. So there's my table of contents for it. This is a bit like being shouted at the moment, isn't it? Let's take it down to 75. That's my table of contents. If I want to look at what did I talk about with clipping masks, I just open that, and this is a secondary window in Scrivener, which has everything that I need. So green is an introduction. This is what I talk about, and the red stuff is what I actually do. So say, do, and then an intro and an outro. And all of that is in there, and I can track the whole thing. So I've actually got an embedded spreadsheet that calculates the times for it all. If you can just imagine that, you know, that is one Word document and you're done. And for the next one, you need another Word document. But what I do in Scrivener is the whole thing is in here, everything. Graphics, demos, table of contents, embedded spreadsheets, the whole thing. It's a writer's workshop, to be honest, a whole toolkit for writers, but I've taken it off in different directions in terms of I do our mails in it, I do my courses in it, and you can build it to be whatever you want. And then when you come to it, so if you think about, you know, you've got that, and that's my script for that, or maybe I've got one with, have I got anything with graphics in? Probably not. I don't, that one will do. Right, let's say I want that out of here. At some point it's got to come out of here, and it's a tutorial and it's going to get put somewhere. So if you think about the last one that was the blog. So where on earth was the blog that I had? Oh, where was that? No idea. Literally, I have no idea where that was. But I'll just take one of these, just to show you. If I wanted that publishing to a blog or making into a PDF or whatever, I do that in here, and I can make it into anything. I can print it, make a PDF. I could take it out to Word and carry on editing it. I could make an EPUB of it. I can take it out to Markdown. I can make a website of it. Doesn't matter. So I could actually take that out to a Word file and compile it to Word. So we'll put that on the desktop, and there's the first one from that. But it's so flexible that you can do anything else from it. So if I get my Scrivener email generator, this email that's going out later tonight's already been done, right? That's the mail. But when you get the mail, it doesn't particularly look like that. It's close to it, but not right. So what I would do with it is export it. So I choose Mac by its mail, and I click compile. And it goes to the right folder. That's where they all are. But I'm going to put this on the desktop, and I would paste in whatever it was. So I'll call that mail and export that. So that's in Scrivener. That could be in a Word file. But the beauty of Scrivener is it doesn't matter that it's in Scrivener. It doesn't care what format it is. It exports it here, and there is the mail. And now it's HTML. You'll notice that none of this branding, none of this was in the file. That happens like magic on the export. And it can export in a million different formats. So that one made a mail. This one was a PDF, I think. Oh no, this was a Word file, wasn't it? So this one, it's verifying when it will have done an update while my back was turned. And you're going to open, aren't you? There we go. And that one has made a Word file. So Scrivener is where text starts. It doesn't particularly have to stay there forever. It can come out in any one of a number of formats. So what that would look like if you've got a big document to organise is not the mail one, so I'll get rid of that. That one there. Oh, it's backing up again, crying out loud. It backs up every time it closes, which is great, except during a demo. So give me a second while we sort this out, while it thinks about doing it. There we go. So this one here, the benefit is it enables me to treat each little bit of this as completely and utterly separate. It can have its own synopsis, its own notes on it. I can put in graphics for it. I can put in metadata for it. So who did the proofreading? Mike did. That was the writing date. I can take snapshots as backups, then make changes. And if I think, oh, that was better before, then I can undo it because I've got a snapshot of it. And I can put my comments, footnotes and endnotes in there as well. But focus on the content of it. Then, when I'm ready, I can do an export. So every little bit of that is separate. Here's the entire manuscript. If I know I want Mike to proofread it, but I've not actually finished stave 5, then I can just take the ticks out of here and that won't be included. But obviously, I probably want the entire lot, don't I? So I will compile that for a PDF. I want a PDF output with this, but I could choose a Word file, I could choose anything else, doesn't matter. So the essence of this is do the work in something like Scrivener or Ulysses or a text file or wherever, and then what you end up with over here is something that you can then work with. So it does the whole thing. It's even got the content thing on it. It's got separators. It's got page numbers. Now, if what you wanted to do with it, lovely little separators, if what you wanted to do with it was take it into Affinity Publisher, then instead of exporting, hang on, that's not the file, is it? Let's minimise that one. I've lost the other file. Where have you gone? There. No, that's not you either. Come on, where is it? Christmas Carol, that's the one. Right, if what you wanted with it was a file that Affinity Publisher could understand, then when you come to the export, instead of making it a PDF, you just choose a Word file, a docx file. You compile that, we'll put that on the desktop, and when it's finished strutting its stuff, page numbers will need updating. That's because it's going to look slightly different. There is the entire thing from Scrivener as a docx file. You can carry on working on it in here if you want. So for instance, that's saying these are going to need updating, and that's fine. But there's the file. And from there, we can go into Affinity Publisher. Let's take that over there so I can see it. Oh, Publisher, come on. Right, we'll have a new file. Where are we going? There's a new file. And you can just import that into it. So I would need to do a little bit of magic in here in terms of giving it a placeholder in which to pour the data. And I would need to link those two together. So we'll hook that up with that. And then come into here. And then we can place a file, import a file, whatever we need to do. Let's do it that way and see how it goes. Right, desktop. The Word version of that. Open that up. And there's the content. Now it's saying to me that it's overflowing. So that's what that means. So we'll turn the eyeball off. We'll turn off on the view the grid as well, because it's very distracting. But it's loaded in the exact content and it's kept all of the styles. So all of the styles have come in with it. We obviously need that to magic beans its way through this. And what I did there was, on that triangle, I held the Shift key down, and it has added in all the pages we need for that. It's brought the whole thing in from Scrivener. So that's why I don't do much of the work in here. And then in here, I would tidy it up. So obviously we've got line spacing that needs tidying up, but I would do the tidying up and the layout in Affinity Publisher. So does that help answer some questions? How do I output the Scrivener copy when it's ready to go? All I need to do in Scrivener has the most amazing compile option. So all I need to do is go to File. It was File Compile. There it is. Because not export, whole different business. File Compile. And you've got this huge dialog box that you can fiddle with to the nth degree, which you would if you wanted to make an email like me. But otherwise, if you want to just get the document out, choose Word from the top and you're good to go. There are different options that you can choose over here. So if you used Vellum, which is a print service, you could just change that. You're still producing a Word document, but it's looking slightly different. But, you know, modern works pretty much perfectly for virtually everything. This dialog box is the bane of most Scrivener users' life, but it's not once you've sorted it out. So if you look over here, you've got certain export formats. But if you looked at a different file, so where's my email generator file? This one's totally different because this is producing different content. So this time, you see we've got a default format and I've got these. So are you sending a MacBytes mail, a Slide IQ mail, Excel trainer, VIP mail, or an iBooks trainer, iBooks author? And you just choose one of these, and depending on what you choose, you get a totally different mail. So if I was sending that particular mail, which is a MacBytes mail, and you saw that, it compiled it to say MacBytes at the top. But if I was sending it to my list, I would choose VIP. My output's plain text, because it's just HTML, and then I just compile. So this dialog box is where the entire power of this comes in. So that time I saved it out as a mail. So let's get rid of all of these so we can see it. There it is. It's the same mail as that one, but it doesn't look the same. The branding's entirely different. Now it's a different colour. It's got my branding on it, and down the bottom all of this is different. And Scrivener takes care of all of that. Once you've set it up, that's it. You're good to go. You only need to set it up once and then you can carry on. How did I link the two text boxes? Okay, right, Publisher. You definitely need a Mastering Scrivener video one day. Okay, right. What did we have? Text boxes. Right, I'll start again. I'll do a new file. Right, what I did was, I've already got these extra pages. So first thing I'm going to do is delete all these pages. So I've got one page. I've got a master that is applied to this page. So on the master, I'm going to go and put in two text boxes. That text box and that text box. At the moment, those text boxes are not linked. Click the first one and you get a little triangle there. When you hover, you get a chain icon. Click on that, and then as you hover over other text boxes, either on this page or on other pages, they light up blue. And when they light up blue, they're in receive mode. That's when it's going to link the two. Click once, that's it, it's linked. Okay, those two are now linked. On the actual page itself in here, I have the text box. And I want in here to place the Word file that we had, which is that top one there. So click open on that and it loads it in. But it loads it into the single page that I've got. The red eyeball means panic, panic, there's more text than this box can display. If you turn the eyeball off, it doesn't do anything with the text other than hide it. But this is where the trick is here. If I were to click that, it would load the extra text into my cursor, and then I could put another block and it loads the text into it, and you can see it was linked. When I had that selected, you could see there was a link, but that would take forever because there was 90 pages. So the other way of doing it is when you click that, hold, wrong key, come back. When you click that, hold the Option key down, and it will generate all the pages it needs, or it should have done. Hang on, it's acting up. Let's take it all the way back to there. Right. That's being odd with its little self, isn't it? That's being very odd with its little self. There we go. Right. So I held down Option Shift, and it put in all of the pages it needed. So now this one, the first page, this is blue, not red. There's no eyeball next to it because there's no overflow. And it's put in all the pages it needs. Now that's auto-flowing text. When you get to the end here, and this is red because I had it red in the source file, so it proves the point, it comes through. If I were down here to think, right, okay, let's delete that page. Let's delete these two pages. All right, so I'm going to delete two pages at the end and look at the last page. It looks all right, but as you click it, you're back to the fact that these are red. Turn the eyeball on and you can see the text overhanging. But if I click on there, again, same two keys held down, it will create the extra pages it needs. Alt is for Windows, what Option key is for Mac? It's the Option is Alt.
Option is Alt.
Option is Alt. So yes. So it would be, I think they're in a different order, aren't they, on a Windows keyboard?
remember.
It's Option and Shift anyway, which in your case should be Alt and Shift. So fingers crossed that that's the right one. Right, does that explain that okay then? Yes, apparently it does. Brilliant Sigma, I'm loving that name. That's great. Oh, Andrea's here from Sassy Planner. You're here late, so watching from the beginning, and your vaccine late morning, you're out of sync with your Sunday. Oh, well, I hope you're feeling okay. Enjoy it, enjoy it. We put a note in there that I say hello at the end, and then she can stay till the end and hear it. Please do mastering Scrivener to Affinity Publisher. Right, okay. We will put that on the list. Consider it on the list. In fact, I've got a post-it note here. I'm so analogue, aren't I? All right, so we're looking for a Scrivener to Affinity Publisher workflow. That could be cool, couldn't it? Workflow. Right, it's on a post-it note. There you go. Once it's on a post-it note, it's tantamount to having happened, isn't it, Kim? That's how it works. Okay, have we got any other questions? Anything else to say? Oh, Sarah says learnt a lot. Much appreciated. You are very welcome. Very welcome. We've shown the link text boxes. Anything else? Oh, I'm liking that name as well. Luxury Card Store. Wow. Kim would love to learn Scrivener and all it can do. Oh, Scrivener's fabulous. It really is. I've used Scrivener since it was pre-alpha. You talk about beta software. Well, stuff before beta is called alpha, but this was before alpha. It barely worked. 2006. And it was one guy, and he wrote it. He wasn't a programmer. He wrote Scrivener. He taught himself to program to create the writing environment that he wanted to write in. And he shared it with people free of charge. And people were like, OMG, you need to make this. You need to release it. So over the next couple of years, he worked on it and he gave away that first version. So if you didn't want to pay for it, he gave away that first version. But then he released version 1 for Mac. And because he'd already had to teach himself to program to make the Mac version, people were like, oh, I'm on Windows, I need the Windows version, I need the Windows version. And he was like, no, that's not happening. I'm not stopping and I'm not teaching myself to program Windows. And he stuck to that for a long time. But demand was just too much. And then in 2010, the iPad came out. And people were like, never mind Windows, I want it on my iPad. So he got developers in to develop Scrivener for Windows and for iPad. And it didn't happen. It took 5 years in total. And in the end, he had to learn how to program for the iPad. So he actually programmed the iPad version, but it took 5 years. So that came out in 2015. In the meanwhile, the Windows development is trying to reach parity with the Mac version. And it came out last week. It is 3.5 years late, but it came out last week. So it doesn't now matter whether you are an iOS only person, Mac or Windows, we all have the same version of Scrivener to play with. And it is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think the power of it comes when you think out of the box and you think, okay, I've got this mail. Could I send a mail? Could I build a course? A lot of people are writing books. But other people are doing theses, PhDs, reports, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. And it is amazing. And I think of Publisher as like putting the polish on it at the end. Not actually where I'm going to sit and do any of the work at all. If you've ever used InDesign, you may have heard of another application Adobe provide free of charge with it called InCopy. And InCopy is like a rudimentary version of Word. But it has none of the layout options. It's just the text. So if you have contributors to a magazine, you don't want them fiddling around in your magazine layout. But wouldn't it be great if the text you got from them was formatted perfectly for your document? And that's what InCopy does. So InCopy is a dedicated text editor that works with InDesign. It would be fantastic if Affinity Publisher had like a button where you said, take this to the editor. And it takes you out to basically a text editor on steroids. And then you click a send it back to Affinity Publisher and make it look pretty button. That would be stunning. Who knows? Maybe version 2. But not there at the moment. And that's what I use Scrivener for. If it had it, I might use it, particularly for contributors. But I'm so used to Scrivener, and I'm so experienced with Scrivener, I can probably make it do anything. I do remember taking 2 days to get an export. So I sat there in that dialog box for 2 days making it work. And you might think, well, that's excessive. You could have just copy and pasted it. Well, I could. But what I made it do was export to an XML file that the company who was hosting the course loaded into their content management system, and boom, I was done. The other trainers who'd done it, they had all the work to do that I did, and then they had to sit there for a week and add all the meta manually to the content management system. So that 2 days was a great investment. I would go so far as to say there's nothing Scrivener can't do. And hooking it up with Affinity Publisher, yes, that's definitely the way to go. So do we have any more questions? I see we've moved on in the chat. Sarah says, learnt a lot to learn. Much appreciated. You're very welcome. And what else have we got here? What do I work as? You have an expertise of all those softwares. Handily, I'm a software trainer. Historically, you'll laugh at this, I was a lawyer. It's all right, came to my senses many, many moons ago. So I worked as a lawyer for about longer than I should have done, to be honest. But while I was a lawyer, I got an opportunity to sort out, shall we say, implement a case management system, which was fine. We implemented it. It was wonderful. None of the secretaries could use it. So it was, do you think you could train the secretaries? So I trained the secretaries and thought, you know what? This is way better than being a lawyer. So I did all my Microsoft exams and I started being a trainer in the mid-90s. And that's what I do. So I train people all the time. Right, let's catch up. You are very welcome, Kim. Thank you for the masterclass in Master Pages. Kim says, brilliant, she's a trainer, can't you tell by how she trains? Oh no, brilliant Sigma thought I was a graphic designer or a magazine editor. No, I do graphic design, but not as, no, it's not something that I would do on a professional basis. And I've edited magazines, but again, not on a, I would take a commission basis. No, I am a trainer. I will train you to do it. The compile is absolutely fantastic, Paul, but it's quite impenetrable at times. It depends what you want to do with it. Boo Adobe and their subscriptions. Subscription wouldn't inherently be bad. It's the amount of it that's ludicrous. You know, if they were charging what they charge per month for a year, maybe, because that's what Microsoft do. Obviously being a Mac user, I refused for 10 years to have anything from Microsoft on my Mac, even something free. And then they released Office 365 and I said to Mike, I'll be having some of that. You know, and I pay £47 a year. I get 6 terabytes of online storage and all of the applications. And now I'm using them. I do have an Adobe subscription, but I don't actually use it that much. It's criminal. I need it for certain things, but it would be, I think they'd get far more people using it if it was less expensive. But all they're doing is pushing everybody towards Affinity. So eventually they'll come round to our way of thinking, but who knows how long that will take. Ted uses Scrivener and Affinity Publisher, but you like Word for short documents, for long documents if you prefer Scrivener. I think it depends on the type of output for me. I don't automatically crank up Word for anything, to be honest. It's more likely somebody sent me something from Word and then I go into it. The thing I use from the Microsoft suite is PowerPoint. And there is a long funny story behind how that happened, but essence of it was used Keynote for 16 years and Keynote started deleting slides willy-nilly. I had no idea it had done it until you were actually sat there and thought, where's that slide gone? So much against my better judgment, I thought, well, I'll give PowerPoint a go, but I am not going to like this. I am not going to like this. And within 2 hours, it was like, Keynote what? Not using that. PowerPoint is very, very good. So Word's there for me, but I tend to use PowerPoint a lot more. Oh, Ted's been an attorney, enough said. Yes, I know the feeling. The clients were wonderful, without exception they were. Working with other lawyers, well, think of like a cesspit. Yeah, so I left. You seem too nice to be a lawyer. I think that could have been one of the problems. Yeah, the people I had to work with, not great. Oh, Kim, thank you. Between Elaine and Mike, we've hit the jackpot. That might be why you no longer practice law, you do You do mediate cases. You see, that's perfect, isn't it? That's perfect. But, scrapping there, arguing the toss. What was the most ludicrous one I had? Working on a car accident, and the insurance company, we were working on behalf of the plaintiff. So that's the innocent party. And the insurance company rang up. Now, when they ring up, you've got to bill the client. And, when that bill is like £60 an hour, £120 an hour, you have to bill a minimum of 6 minutes. So that's like £10, somewhere between £10 to £20 to answer this call. And the question on the call, the imperative question was, what colour's your client's car? I thought, what difference does it make? Your client ran into the back of my client. What's the problem? After that, we changed procedures and we made sure when we put the initial claim in, we told them what colour the car was. But yeah, that's the level that you're working with. It's like, this lawyer's on the phone for you, says it's absolutely important, dire emergency, needs to speak to you now. You drop everything, you hair off up to your office, you recover yourself and you say, hello, how can I help? What colour's the car? If I could have reached down the phone, luckily I wasn't able to. Right, and also we got learning Affinity for the fun of it, and hopefully one day you can monetize your passion. Won't take long. And Peter says, before Christmas I was doing a lot with a typography guide. No, I didn't actually totally finish that, but I'm not far off. So we could have a typography session, couldn't we? The whole thing, typography and then the guide. That would be a good idea. Let me sort myself out. We've actually got a holiday coming up, haven't we? One of our infamous holidays. Kim might have to warn the entire planet that we're on holiday, because there'll be some kind of crisis, although we've already got a global pandemic. So we're off for 4 days, plus Easter. So what I intend to do then, because by that point I'll have finished the last session, which is going to be next week, isn't it? Why don't I put this back so you're looking at the picky rather than my desktop not doing anything at all? There we go. So next Sunday will be the last one of Mad March. So I will take everything that you've put in that you would like to see, put it all together and work out a plan for moving forward. So keep the ideas coming. Put comments under the video if you want to put them there, or you can contact me directly and we will sort all of that out. There you go. So there's that one, and there was another guide I had as well, which is finished, that I also didn't put up. I want taking out and vlogging at times, I do. But never mind. I can't do that while I'm prepping another session, and I was prepping another session, so there you go. So I hope you've all found that useful. Last call for questions, if there is anything else. If it's after the event and you've made it this far on replay, congratulations. Incredibly impressed. Then put a comment in there or contact me direct and I will get back to you with any questions. Oh, Brilliant Sigma says this channel is gold. Come for the tutorials and stay for the stories. That's what After Hours is like. There are tutorials, but there's lots of funnies and stories. Do you know what I didn't put in on Friday night? No. Cone Watch. We've been doing Cone Watch for 2 weeks. Can I just say, no progress. If you were with us on After Hours, no progress. The cone's still sat outside. I know it is. It'll be sat there for a minimum of 6 weeks, I'm telling you. So that's what After Hours is like. It's like the Mac Bytes podcast with tutorials. There you go. Right, I am going to head off at that point. Oh, hang on, got one more comment here. Sarah would really like to learn how to make a contents list and have the links work within the documents. Okay, we could do that either in long documents or making a specific type of document. So I will add that to the list as well. And Mike hopefully is copying all of these suggestions. Yeah. Right, okay then. And Sarah says, excellent afternoon, thank you. You are very welcome. We're going to head off because I'm absolutely starving now. And the dog will want walking and all of the rest of it as well. Although she's staging a protest at the moment, isn't she? The lovely Lola. Refusing point blank to have breakfast. So you think, oh, she's not hungry. Biscuits, very keen. So, not dying then, just doesn't want proper food, wants biscuits. And we've got another show today later. So I'm going to go and eat and then get ready for that. So thank you all if you have managed to stay this long. That's fantastic. Oh, Affinity should hire me. Oh, now that would presuppose that I'm a good employee and possibly not. Possibly not. Too much of a maverick. But thank you very much. So thank you to each and every one of you. I'm going to say good evening from me. It's afternoon, but good early evening from me. Are you going to say good evening?
And the same from me.
We'll both see you next time, which will be next week, 3 o'clock. Until then, have fun and stay safe, guys.